and welcome to a fake, halfway, not really an episode 29 and a half.
0.5
of Secret and Confessor Podcast.
Hey.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Frank.
I doubt you're listening to this episode if you don't know that already. So, welcome.
We got to do it anyway.
It feels right to do.
It does.
This is going to be really weird and informal, and we've gotten into such a groove with our other episode format that I feel like this is going to feel really awkward and weird. The idea here is just that we had some outstanding questions. I have one kind of like fun parallel that somebody sent in that I thought might be fun to mention. The problem is the chapters are getting so long and involved and we have so many opinions about what's happening that like I don't feel I have time.
You really don't.
To include this. It was working for a while to just have little things like this at the top of the episode, but now I'm like, I have too much to say about the chapter.
We can't be having 4-hour episodes. No matter how much you want it, we won't do it.
I guess this is filling in a little bit.
Yeah, this is our just off-the-cuff deep dive on the side. Right?
Yeah, it's questions that we have, questions that like multiple people who have been listening have also asked.
Questions that Terry should have had.
Absolutely. If we look crummy, we're hungover.
I'm so hungover.
We went down a giant water slide
a lot.
All day yesterday, and now we're kind of tired. You know, hair's looking bad. Everything's bad. We got the hats on.
Mm-hmm. Just to hide my shame.
We got our ugly tired mugs sitting here, and we're gonna just go through some questions. So honestly, just full disclosure, I did all the research.
I did not.
Frank's just here to hear the discoveries that I've made and react and discuss.
I'm the personality hire in this marriage and podcast, so I'm here for vibes.
What does that mean about my personality?
It's also good, but you're like running the company, and I'm just the guy who's like making everyone cheery, you know? You know?
Yeah. Well, so Frank's also hearing a lot of this for the first time. I did feel like Zedd in Iden Drill looking through the tomes, finding out the research.
Okay.
That's it.
You felt like Zedd.
I felt like Zedd in Iden Drill while I was putting this document together.
Huh. And I felt like Samuel. Crawling around in the bushes, not doing anything helpful.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, does he do anything helpful?
Not yet.
No. So we're going to go over a couple of questions. So the first question that I had that I think Erica was asking about, also Diana was asking about, Confessor power, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Give it to me.
Are they born with it? Does it develop later in life?
Sure.
What's up with the sleep situation?
Yeah, all right. What did you find?
Okay, so I went back to the part where Kaylin is getting cured by Nissel after her wound from the elders and all of that.
She made her no narcotics request.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, Nissel gives Kaylin the relaxation drugs. Kaylin freaks out and she says, Nissel, I am a confessor. If I am relaxed in a manner like that, I might not be able to hold back the power. When you touch me, I can release it without wanting to. Okay. Nissel says, but you sleep, child. You relax then. And she says, that is different. I have slept from birth before my power grew in me. If I were to be relaxed or distracted in a way I do not know, as with your leaves, I could touch you without intending it. So, given the information we got from like the Mother Confessor confessing chapter.
Yeah.
Clearly you are born with the fact that you are going to produce the power. Yeah. But clearly as a child and a baby, you do not have them yet.
That's important. You don't want babies being able to confess people. So,
right.
So that makes sense.
So that part makes sense for sure. The questionable part is the sleeping thing.
Yeah. I mean, the explanation there is that her body knows how to sleep, and the powers developed after sleeping developed, so sleep can contain the powers.
Right. Around what age do we think these, like, do we think this is like a puberty thing?
It seems like it, right?
Just here to confirm, they do in fact have, like, they are confessors at birth,
but they don't have
But does every
powers.
Confessor baby develop powers?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Okay, so if you're a Confessor-born baby, we know you're going to, but you don't have them right away.
Yeah, because if that wasn't true, then they killed a lot of male babies for no reason without confirming they had powers.
True, right? True. And then that was when Nissel, her very next question was, how do you have sex? Which I still take issue with as not a natural
progression
next
of questions,
question.
yeah.
No. Okay.
Nissel's worried about two things. How do you sleep? How do you fuck?
Actually, I feel like Terry, because I ended up rereading a bunch of random parts while I was doing this.
Yeah.
Terry does have this, like, weird... there's, like, a weird suggestion that everybody, like, has sex on the brain. And, like, I'm a person with that topic on the brain frequently.
Yeah.
And I still am, like, I don't think people, even me, are thinking about it this much.
Well, you're not in the Midlands, you know? Maybe they got a different vibe down there.
Oh, no, because this was also, what I thought of it was in the Westlands. Oh. Because I was rereading I still think is bad part where Zedd makes them think they lost their penises.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And...
part. We all love that part.
Like, it's another weird jump of logic like this, where, like, here Nissel's immediately jumping to, you can't relax, sex, where I'm like, I don't think that's the next thought. And then equally so, it's Zedd just being like, the men come in the thing, Zedd's like, gives them a talking to about why they're morally bad. And then he's like, because you wanted to take my life, I'm going to take the thing most precious to you away.
And all those men said, my penis?
Yeah, no, apparently first they say gold.
Oh.
And then Zedd's like, no, not that. Something, like, most precious. And then their next thought is penis. Nobody thought, like, my family.
No, not one of them.
Nobody thought, I don't know, literally so many things. I don't think your penis would be your next thought. I don't think Nissel would think sex next.
This is where you're wrong. As a man, like, if I have a short list of things I care about, it's gold, penis, and then, like, a couple of
and your wife,
dots.
maybe.
Maybe down there, you know? My gold, my penis.
If a wizard said, I'm like, to punish you, I'm taking away the thing you hold most precious. What? It's like, that's a really...
Yeah, I'm immediately being like, is this a riddle? Is this like a...
That's a romantic term to use for your
precious.
brain to go to penis.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah, so anyway, I thought that was weird. I was like, oh, he keeps doing this logical leap thing in instances where he's like, oh, obviously their next thought is going to be about sex or their dick. And I'm like, I don't think so.
For a man that claims he's never heard about domination.
Yeah, I know.
This is very bizarre line of thinking. You're like, this is how fantasy people think, not me. I've never heard of them.
That is going to have to be a half episode going through Terry's AMA on Reddit.
Oh, yeah.
In general, but also I'm going to have to do a whole half episode, I feel, just on, Terry claiming, like, dominatrix is just never, ever came into my brain as a reference point. Sir.
You're a joke. There's no way.
There's no way.
So dumb. Never heard of him? Like,
but see, that's the sort of shit that makes me now less likely to believe your claims about, like, Robert Jordan and copying and all of that. Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, well, if you're gonna be that bold-faced of a liar to say you did not consider dominatrixes in writing Mordsith, then okay, you're comfortable being a liar. You know what? I'm gonna take your own little rules and put them on you now, because I'd be a fool to believe you're dumbass.
Absolutely.
Staring me right in the face.
Sort of lies. That's
if I had the sword of truth, I'd be slicing him down. Actually, I'm doing it right now.
Terry, watch out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next topic. I wanted to go back over Michael's speech, mostly because you had said in the episode where they were in Horner's Mill, you were questioning, like, oh, did Michael say, we hate the Daharans, we hate Midlanders, and I was like, no, I think it's the opposite, which it is. Yeah, it was. Okay. But I was kind of curious to, like, go back and unpack it now, what he said.
Yeah, what was the speech vibe?
So the vibe was, okay, he's the first counselor of the Westland, which he was chosen in part because he lives so close to the boundary, is what he said, and since they're they're trying to build up a vision for the future in which the boundaries are potentially coming down.
Sure.
And as somebody who has been impacted by its dark shadow, they wanted his input on like how to approach that transition. Was like the vibe.
Okay. Sure.
A lot of the angle was everybody who is scared of the boundary coming down. It's very weird messaging. Everyone who's scared of the boundary coming down is actually bad because they should be welcoming and peaceful to all peoples, since those are technically like their relatives and ancestors over in the Midlands.
Not technically, like people who are still alive are over there, but yeah, okay.
Well, that's what he said. He said, like, why are we going to be like trying to murder them?
Sure. Yeah, no one really ever talked about wanting to murder them, right? This is the first we're even hearing about this conversation.
The only time that's brought up is pretty much here.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just supposed to take his word for it that that's something they want to do.
Yeah. Which is weird, but...
He talks about, again, the thing with, like, there's traitors in the government who are high-level officials. They're conspiring against the Westlands. Basically, it's just, like, the boundary's going down soon, and we have to be ready to accept this change and extend offers of peace and friendship to the Daharans and the Midlanders.
Sure.
Not swords, as some of you would do. So like I'm guessing, I don't know, who knows. So I was like, okay, so he's in contact with Darken Rahl at this point.
Has to be. Yep. He's dressing like him, and
right. The fashion influence.
The fashion influence automatic. Yeah. Darken Rahl's like, here's my sweet fit, and Michael was like, I'm sold. How do I sell out my people?
Yeah. Although maybe the implication is like Darken Rahl, like maybe some of this rhetoric, like Michael believes.
Very possible, yeah.
Which, again, the most shameful thing of all would be to ever be fooled by another man's words, no matter how convincing he is. You're the stupidest person on the planet if you believed it.
You're a goddamn moron.
Which is why I don't believe Terry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
By his own, yeah.
Okay, because Michael essentially is saying we should be nice to the people in the Midlands if the boundary goes down.
Okay.
We're still really heavy here and where we're at currently, reinforcing Richard's correctness in thinking Midlanders are bad, Westlanders are good. Because Michael's the bad guy, and he's taking the opposite thought. He's saying Midlanders, maybe they're our ancestors, they're okay. If he's going to be bad in the end, then I guess that's a bad take.
Well, I don't know if the take was bad, but he's bad. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
The take is... It's basically like, I don't know, the first rule and all that coming into account. Like, we're just never supposed to trust any rhetoric, and we have to independently research everything anyone says ever. And if you believe someone talking to you from a soapbox, you're stupid.
Yes.
So it's like, you have to go, Michael's proposing that we're peaceful to these people. Why does Michael want that?
Like, I would say there's a healthy dose of, like, maybe think that way often. This just seems to be going to a degree that's crazy. That's a fine lesson, but I don't know why we have to be so, like, harsh on the fact that somebody might not intuitively, like, literally, like, peasants in, like, a medieval setting might not come up with that.
Formal education.
Yeah, like, it's just...
They don't even have their letters half the time.
Like,
it's just
relax.
Like, no, you're so stupid if you don't know that trained politicians are lying to you.
Master manipulators are coming for your ass. You barely have time to, like, sleep.
Exactly, yeah.
But, like, you're so dumb. Okay. So anyway.
He's for the masses, though.
We're just reaffirming. So what Michael's stance is, I think it is interestingly, like, reinforcing again this, like, Midlands bad, Westlands good narrative, although clearly Kaylin, best girl from Midlands. So, like, it's obviously not going to be that cut and dry. I'm curious how it's going to thematically resolve.
I don't know. And even going back into those chapters, like, you saw so many inconsistencies of, like, Kaylin's characterization and stuff. And
well, I was rereading the part where Michael, like, assaults her and she, like, cuts his neck with her nail in this very, like, cool, calculated way. I know.
Catwoman way.
Yeah, like, but, like, I know that he is clearly trying to do the, like, Kaylin baby girl, stoic mother confessor badass thing.
Yeah.
And, like, we're starting to see more of that Mother Confessor vibe from her a little bit here and there. And I'm assuming in that moment she was mothering. So...
But that's like not a move the Mother Confessor would ever have to do.
No, it's really not.
Because she can kill you by touching
you.
That's
why
so she wouldn't stab you with her fingernail.
Correct.
That's like a...
It coming across... I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's tonally... I have to see Kaylin Girl Boss a lot more before I can merge these fully and feel good about it.
Here's another thing, right? Because now I'm thinking. So, they closed up the boundary within 60 years, right? Because Zedd's from there most of his life and then came here. Yeah. Right? So, let's say 50, 60 years. Confessors are ancient, right? Yeah. And they're very magical and very powerful. Right. Right? You don't think anyone would know what they are?
Yeah, I know. Oh, but that's like the problem with everything. Dragons, Mother Confessors, like everything. Well, like, why don't
Richard's
they know
literally
anything?
Like shocked that dragons exist because he thought they were just from stories. I'm like, they literally exist like 16 miles to the east of you.
Where like multiple people who live in your country now would have, like, you never heard a story from your grandparents?
And being like, no, dragons are real. They're just not here right now. But they are over there.
Are you sure it's that? Like, it's not...
Zedd's from the Midlands. He closed the boundaries. And he's not 179.
He's a wizard, so I don't know how old he is.
He's not 500 years old.
I don't know.
That's still not long enough for you to, like, think dragons might not be real.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't know about it was like they acted like they all had such collective PTSD that they all were, every single human was in agreement to never talk about that.
I guess.
That is not how anything works.
Well, then you definitely wouldn't tell tales of dragons. You would just be like, nothing weird.
Right.
We don't talk about anything weird over here.
Like, you'd be doing, like Dursley level.
Truman Show style, sort of like.
Whoa.
What do you mean Dursley level? Where were you going at with that?
Like, in Harry Potter, the Dursleys are so, like, magic does not exist. We don't even entertain the idea of it, Harry. They're not like, let me tell you a little story about magic, but also...
But no, that's totally fake. Yeah, no, they were...
No, that's what I'm saying. They just went all the way, like, we never speak of it. It doesn't exist. We're not playing with it.
That's a better metaphor than the Truman Show now.
I think so. Yeah. That's a stretch.
Well.
It's like, kind of.
I don't know.
Kind of.
I need to know more about George. Like, what was he doing to poor Richard in the woods out there?
Well, we are going to talk about George. Should I skip to that?
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of George, I was thinking about it because in the upcoming second half of the chapter, the box of Warden and the tooth necklace are an important plot point. So I was thinking about, like, what's up with the George being a thief thing?
Yeah.
So I looked it up. I do feel like there was more, but I couldn't find it. And guys, I mean, I know I was being Zedd, but, like, I had a limit on how much research I was doing.
You were being Zedd, not Gandalf.
Yeah, pretty much. I was being Samuel, not Gollum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I did find, it's right after Michael's speech. Richard immediately is like, what have you found out about Father's murder? And it's fucking... Michael's response is so crazy.
It's nuts.
Grow up, Richard. George was an old fool. He was always picking up things that didn't belong to him. He probably got caught with something that belonged to the wrong person. A person with a bad temper and a big knife. What? What?
That's how we talk about Dad's murder.
Yeah. Richard says, that's not true and you know it. He never stole anything in his life. So we're kind of back to this, like, we are, Richard, our autistic kinging, big time, very black and white.
Yep.
George has never stole anything in his life.
Yeah, no, he's a perfect little angel.
And then nobody in the Westlands has ever done a war crime.
Yeah, can't be true.
But again, I guess what I find weird about it is the story is so often not correcting him.
No.
And I don't know what that means.
I think it's supposed to be like he's seeing the truth that you're all too...
Is that what it is, though? Because sometimes Richard gets...
it wrong.
Schooled.
He does. By random old ladies that are actual sorceresses.
Yeah.
But... I don't know. It doesn't feel...
But it's almost like nobody's ever schooling him with nuance. They're always schooling him by out-pedanticing him.
Yes,
I know. Literally being actually, you're not being black and white enough, Richard.
Your black and white is contained within my black, idiot.
Yeah, right. That's the vibe.
Bigger plates dropped on top.
Michael proceeds to say, just because the person was long dead doesn't mean you have any right to it. Someone else obviously wanted it back. Richard says, how do you know all this? He says, it's common sense because the house was ransacked. Obviously, they were after an item. That kind of makes sense. But
all it does is say, this man's working with the bad guy to me.
Yeah, 100%.
What are you saying? Very specific things.
Master politician.
Yeah.
Mastermind Michael over there.
Spilling the beans.
He was like,
for
oops.
like 4 seconds.
Oh, oops. Should I not have said that? I don't know why he mentioned all of that. But anyway, I really felt like there was more about George being a thief, but I just could not find it. If anybody else like just happens to remember what the fuck was said or where it is, let me know. I don't know what we make of that.
And just that the tooth somehow proves he's not a thief.
I did find where that first came up, and it is just in fact said that plainly. It is just... He has a book, and I have the tooth, which I need because it proves it wasn't stolen. And it's like, there's never been any mention, as far as I can remember, of why the tooth does that.
No.
That's that, I guess. Okay, Richard being so adamant that George has never stolen anything in his life, is it going to be that we will find out George, in fact, did steal the Book of Counted Shadows, and that is Richard's sober up moment? Or I don't trust that. That seems like the obvious outcome. But some part of me could see Terry being like, Richard, you're right. He didn't steal it.
He didn't steal it. The tooth is proof, and you're right the whole time.
I kind of think that's what's going to happen. Gonna be that. And the fact that Michael thought he stole it was
because
Darkenrawl's
rhetoric. Once again, others' rhetoric is evil unless you are the seeker of truth.
Then you should consider it.
But even considering it makes you an idiot.
Sometimes, frequently,
to Zedd,
often.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, kind of. Except it's truth, so...
Yeah.
All right.
You know when you see truth.
So, here's the big one. Here's the one we were really taking issue with all last episode. Confirmed. Zedd never said, stay away from Darkenrawl. And Zedd never said that they were supposed to stay low and be careful. Okay, so before I get into all my proof, what I want to say is we will now have to question, since we have to have good media literacy.
Yep.
Does the fact that this did not occur and Zedd says it occurs mean Terry wrote this badly, forgot the tone of what Zedd acted like beforehand, or wanted you at this point in the book to kind of like erase your memory, not very truthful, and come up with a new vision because that fits the narrative better in some capacity? Whatever, just bad writing category. Or are we to believe Terry very much so knew that Zedd never said that, but he wanted Zedd as a character to say he said that even though he didn't? And then what does that mean?
That seems like advanced strats, and I don't think Terry was pulling that in this book.
I don't know.
I'll leave space for that possibly.
Okay, so I just want us all to be on the same page, right? Those are the two options.
No, here's why I don't agree with that. Because if that's what Terry was trying to pull, Terry then also could not have stopped himself from Richard being like, but Zedd, you never said that. He would have hit him with that. He would have been like, oh, but Richard would not allow Zedd to lie to him. Because I'm like, well, that's a really weird choice, because that means that like Zedd's a big old fucking liar, if that's true. Wizards don't have to tell the truth.
I mean, I know
here's my question, though. I know you're gonna have a bunch of proof here, so I want to get into that. Okay. But was there any place in which it's readable that Zedd inferred that without ever explicitly stating it?
We'll really go over it. I took a lot of time on, because this was the thing that really bothered me.
Give it to us.
Okay. So I went back through. Again, there totally is a possibility. My ass was skimming and then like zooming in when I hit the things that I thought were going to help me here.
Of course.
So if there's any, again, I would love if anybody else wants to go look, and if you could point me to a point where he says either lay low or avoid Darkenrawl, I'd love to know.
Okay.
Not what I picked up. So I went back initially to where Zedd gives Richard the sword for the first time. Just to set the scene, Zedd gives Richard the sword. Kaylin tells him to pick somebody else. She doesn't want it to be Richard, because clearly
She's
being
having
the seeker is
feelings,
bad,
yeah.
and etc. Zedd says no, because if he picks the incorrect person, everybody's going to die, right? So, okay.
Inferring that Zedd knows there's some sort of prophecy, right?
Yes. So,
Okay.
yeah, that confirmed, right? Okay,
Yep.
good. We can kind of get that from this. Zedd and Kaylin bow to Richard and pledge their life in his defense. I just want to set the scene again because we're trying to think, does Zedd come across here like he is trying to be like, hey, no worries, I've got a plan, you two just lay low, I don't really need you.
That's not
right?
what that
So
feels
already
like.
that's like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's,
you're involved.
If you're Richard, you're like, whoa, this is serious, right?
Yep, definitely.
Okay. Richard says, you two think I can somehow save us. That's what you're both thinking, that somehow I'm to stop Dark and Rawl. A wizard can't do it, but I'm to try. So then immediately, Zedd's response to that, given the tone in the last chapter, what would you think his response to that would be?
No, you're not supposed to stop Dark and Rawl. Like,
Don't.
We'll figure it out together and blah, blah, blah.
No, he first tells him to look at the tracker cloud to remind him Dark and Rawl's coming. And then he explains the boxes of Ordant to Richard, and he explains that Dark and Rawl only has 2. Implication, I would gather, you gotta find the third, right?
Yeah.
Richard's saying, you think I can somehow save us, and you want me to try and stop Dark and Rawl. Zedd says, well, let me tell you, here's how the boxes of Ordant work, right? Yeah, that sounds like a call to action, I would think.
I would. Here's your sword, and here's the thing we need.
Zedd says, do you see, Richard? We don't have to go up against Dark and Rawl, which, that part, okay.
Feeds in.
From the beginning, he clearly has said we're not going toe-to-toe with him. Fine. Not the same as saying at all costs avoid him. And we'll get to something later on that implies the opposite. We have only to find at least one of the boxes before he does. So... Okay,
so
everything is pointing to we're going to go find the last box of Ordant, which is why I'm confused in this chapter. Zedd's kind of like saying, oh my god, we have to find the last box of Ordant, as if that's like a new plan or new information.
No, you're right. That's true.
But clearly from the very beginning, that was the whole plan.
Yeah.
I don't know how he wanted to do that, but that clearly was the plan.
And then in the new chapter, him being like, I didn't want to have to explain the boxes of Ordant to you because it wasn't your business. I was like, you kind of did. You didn't get into like the nitty gritty.
But you explained it enough. And also, him being like, oh my god, I guess we do have to get the third box. Oh, great. You found out Queen Malena had it. How are we even going to get it from her? It's like, that was always from this point, that was always going to be the trajectory of this.
100%.
So why are you...
What do you mean, how are we going to get it from her? You're like the biggest, best wizard in the world. We're going to walk in there and take it. What do you mean?
So he explains why the box has to be in the Midlands because of the boundary magic. And then he says, I have a plan, but you must first figure out how to get us over the boundary. So, okay, once again, everything here reads, you have to help us get over the boundary, and you need to get over the boundary because, in fact, once we get there, we're going for the third box of Ordant, right? That's all I've gathered from this conversation. Zedd says, Dark and Rawl hunts you personally. The only reason I can fathom for this is that with the insight he has gained from the magic of Ordant, he too knew you to be the one, and so he searches you out to eliminate the threat. So,
which isn't true. It's because of the tooth, but
maybe Dark and Rawl also knows this prophecy.
That might be. Okay.
I'm wondering if Dark and Rawl is searching for like 3 people separately in his mind.
So the Seeker.
Oh my god, is this going to be like a
Trinity?
Yeah.
Richard
He's literally looking for the Seeker, which later on, that's one of the things I looked into, who he does not think is Richard.
Yes.
He doesn't think it's the person with the tooth, and he doesn't think it's Richard. He is looking for Richard because Richard's in a prophecy, and he thinks Richard's going to be a threat. And then he is also searching for George's son who has the tooth, who could be a totally separate third person. I believe he thinks he's searching for all 3 of these, but they're all one person.
Wow, and the Trinity is either his son or brother, depending on what this book ends up doing.
Yeah, so, who knows?
That's interesting.
That's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah. Huh.
So I think that's true. I don't know that he has put together
It's not clear, though, that it's 3.
No, it's not clear.
Like, 2 of them overlap each other a bunch, so I don't know.
I'm not positive he thinks they're 3 separate people, but I am questioning if maybe he does.
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, though, this reinforces that there is, in fact, a prophecy, I would think. But also, Dark and Rawl hunts you personally because he knows things about you from about the boxes of Orden suggests again, though, like, that Richard really is involved, not lay low with the mud people, don't do anything, you shouldn't have to do it. Like, he's getting, you just said, my man's getting hunted by Dark and Rahl.
Yes.
Okay.
He did say that. 100%. So he knows that Dark and Rahl's tracking him, so at any point Dark and Rahl might show up, correct?
Yeah, you think.
Okay, so here we go again, we're not going to get angry. So, Zedd got yeeted by a Shadow Beast, which, sweet moves. I don't know how strong these things are, but whatever. Then they do the only path that you have set them on, which is to find this other box.
Correct.
And Dark and Rahl, who has been tracking him the entire time, which you knew, and you said he might come to eliminate the threat, comes to you to try and eliminate the threat. And you get away, and then Zedd goes, why'd you get near him?
I think that one little moment, we are supposed to think that Zedd is being unreasonable.
Panicky, unreasonable grandpa.
Yes, I'm taking, I don't even know if I'm taking issue. I'm taking confusion with whether or not
America Explained.
Yeah, I'm supposed to feel that way about the whole entirety of the thing or not.
Okay.
And there's more.
Okay, keep going.
So then Zedd, his next thing to do is to ask Kaylin to describe to Richard the whole disembowelment move that Dark and Rahl does on everybody.
Sweet.
In order to get him worked up enough and angry enough to agree to take this journey on. Which, again, to me does not sound like, I just need to get you over the boundary and then shh. Why would you get him all worked up like this?
We need to wake up your secret rage power.
Yeah.
So that you can help us beat Dark and Rahl, but don't try and do that.
Later on, I'm going to say that you shouldn't have done that.
There's only one consequence here. I want to kill him more than anyone. And frequently, through Richard's depressions and all this other stuff that comes out, all he wants more than anything is to end Dark and Rahl's life more than being with Kaylin almost, more than like anything else. Like,
I get, and it made sense all up until this point, because I was like, yeah, of course, and that was exactly the point of what Zedd did, right? And you're like, that tracks until now.
Yeah, Zedd had the tone of, and maybe this is characterization for Zedd.
See, that's my thought.
Like, he's not very good at accepting where he failed, like where he messed up.
I was taking notes earlier for the next episode, and that comes up again. I'm hoping it's characterization.
I think it might be, and that kind of tracks with the way Zedd is. I think he just never really can accept that he's wrong. I'm
gonna be real though, the fact that is such a big part of his characterization.
Yeah.
All of his like pontificating on ideals and now the wizard's first rule is gonna get sucked up into that makes me immediately go, oh, well, I don't really want to listen to that. You don't seem like a terribly trustworthy source of info.
He's literally just
and
powerful.
Morals. Yeah, I know, but okay, so this is my dilemma. If I was truly like, Terry does not per se want me to agree with the wizard's rules. He wants me to actually he wants me to just say, here's one of many frameworks. Interesting. And just go on that, and he was introducing tons of them, and I was supposed to go, oh, wow, look at all these different contradicting philosophies, and let me just think on it. That would work perfectly fine, but I do think I'm supposed to read it, and I'm supposed to go, oh, the wizard's first rules are, in fact, something for me to internalize.
It's the title of the book.
Well, what does that matter?
It's clearly the thesis.
But
there's no alternating. There's nothing to counterbalance.
There's nothing to counterbalance it. That's the problem.
You're given the cool old wizard's first rule. It's the title of the book.
You could make it the title of the book and still be doing the thing, the good version.
But he's not.
Saying. I know. Well, that's my thing. I think I am supposed to be like, there's a philosophy here, and I'm taking it in personally. But then if I also am to believe you're characterizing Zedd as kind of unreliable, kind of a liar, won't take accountability, emotionally inept, I don't want to listen to his rules anymore.
Yeah.
Not that seriously, at least.
He's just Richard's good grandpa, which we still haven't seen much of. He's just been a guy.
Def not.
So now, why do books like this always They always encourage free thought and all this sort of stuff, but then they're also shoveling their thought down your throat as the only thought to think. And, like, obviously you come to this conclusion, right, guys?
I think
and it's like, yo, I don't know, like, leave some space.
His version of doing that, though, is, like, Richard engaging with the mud people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how Richard will show up there and things are a little bit different. And Richard will be like, that's dumb. And we are supposed to be, like, taking away, no, we should respect the mud people. So, like, he is kind of doing it.
Kind of. But even they're stupid, according to this. I don't know.
I'm not trying to be a person that reads a book and immediately goes, if it's in the book or a character says it, that means the author agrees. I'm not that person. I'm the opposite of that person. I'm always defending, like, just because it's in the book doesn't mean the author agrees. But I am trying to use my context clues and a lot of information to say, does the author agree or does the author not agree? Books kind of can give you hints.
They can.
On which direction you're in. This one to me often feels I'm supposed to think that's what Terry thinks, and I'm supposed to also agree on some level.
Yeah, you're right.
And the thing is, even just knowing that he, like, idolized Ayn Rand and how much of this comes out of that, you're like, well, that's what Ayn Rand was doing. She was... it was an opinion she had, and you were supposed to... Hopefully, your takeaway was, I agree.
Yep.
So there's just so much of that feeling here that I can't do the, oh, of course Terry doesn't think that. It's just what Zedd, the maybe troubled wizard, thinks. It's like...
That would be kind of interesting. Yeah.
So that's my struggle here. I do think this is an instance where it's not as big of a separation as there would be in other narratives. So then I have to question it on a different level. Yeah. I don't get to just play in the...
I know.
In the character level. Yeah. I have to play on the... Okay, but how do I actually feel about this as, like, a life philosophy?
Yeah. And I think that's what he wanted you to do.
Since this is ramble session... I'm allowed to say these things. I saw somebody make a post on the subreddit, the book subreddit, like just the general book subreddit about Ayn Rand. I don't know if it was a Fountainhead or it was Atlas Shrugged. I'm not sure. One of them. And it was the person who read it didn't like it. And they were just listing out all of the moral arguments they disliked, all of the plot elements they disliked. And I was reading it and I was like, I actually think if you just replaced Ayn Rand with Terry Goodkind and, like, a couple of character names, it would be
almost the same.
Absolutely the same. Like, I was like, this is word for word, like, issues you could have with this
text,
book.
Clearly, yeah. Well,
and so now I think I'm going to have even more of a violent reaction if I end up reading Ayn Rand, which I have not done, and I really only feel compelled to do at this point.
For comparison's sake.
Just to compare, because it would be so interesting.
That's a good essay. That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know. I think I'm going to get furious with Terry, though, like
that's
on a
good.
whole
Listen,
new level.
That's my favorite. We still don't know where they are in here, right?
I'm convinced...
Like, where are they in the cover?
Isn't that Shoda's...
You think that's the Reach?
Yeah. Although, no, she's wearing the Confessor dress.
Yeah, she is. Which she... was wearing in the Midlands or no?
No.
She was wearing outside of the Midlands. That doesn't make any sense either.
Why'd she wear that?
Why'd she wear that, ever? It should just be at the bottom of her bag.
What was that going to do for her? I'm still not done with this section. So, okay.
More proof. Let's go.
Yeah, so Kaylin explains to Richard the disembowelment. He's angry. Zedd then does the whole, like, tree thing where he makes
him cut down the tree.
Kind of interesting, the tree murder analogy that's coming up. A lot of I know trees are a theme, but, like...
Yeah.
I don't know. You think there's a connection?
What tree? What are you saying?
In this chapter coming up, Zedd's talking about how trees are murderers and... I don't know. Why we keep personifying trees with evil and goodness?
That's weird.
Randomly. Yeah. I don't know. I just noticed it.
Yeah, is Zedd just wrong? Is his theorems on things incorrect? And Terry is, like, wanting Richard to find that out over time?
I don't know.
We'll find out. Listen,
I
hope so. I fucking hope so. I don't think so.
I want Zedd to be wrong, for the love of God, sometimes.
I think he meant the big trees with their shady limbs are murderers, and that is the only take.
You think Terry meant that?
Unfortunately, yeah.
But I don't know. I'm actually questioning it because Kaylin is frequently this like other voice in these conversations. So she kind of disagrees with Zedd.
Yeah, and she gets dunked on.
She does get dunked on, but I think maybe she's right. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's when they made him unequipped and give up the power and then give it to Kaylin and then re-equipped it and then unequipped it and get... I
love how easy that is.
It's just, you just got to attune.
I want Zedd could just be like standing in a room, just like pointing at whoever he needs in the moment. Be like, he's the secret now.
He's the secret.
She's the secret now.
Pick it up.
He's the secret now. That what?
The tree. That's funny.
Yeah.
He would though. Every time it's Richard, Kaylin are the babies talking to Grandpa Zedd. He's teaching them a lesson
about trees,
and it's always about trees. I don't know why. All right.
So. Next, this is when he tells Richard the sword won't work on Dark and Rahl, right?
Okay.
And he specifically says Dark and Rahl might try to make you angry to get you to try and use the sword against him. But you shouldn't do it because if you try, he will like automatically win. I don't really know why that's the case.
Probably in the prophecy.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like Dark and Rahl is going to try and piss you off to use the sword against him. Don't do it. It's not going to work. But that implies...
You're getting in the room.
You guys
and you need to figure out another way to kill Dark and Rahl. So...
Yes, and he will say more on that topic,
It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so then Kaylin objects, and she's like, that makes the whole thing impossible if we can't use the sword. Zedd says, no, he gives them a lesson.
The true seeker.
The seeker's mind and heart are the most important weapon. The sword's just a tool. Quote, you can find another way. You must. Okay.
What?
So not only was Zedd originally like, you're going after the Box of Orden, he also was like, don't use the sword because you're going to fight him and you're going to have to do a different thing.
You're going to use your brain to kill him. Why did you try and kill him?
What do you mean?
Zedd.
You told him to do this.
If you were even that concerned, maybe come to us before you go looking for the book next time.
Literally.
I don't know. The Rizzler's fizzling.
Yeah, that's fucking so true.
Right? Rizzles fizzles.
Richard says, it's all right, my friend, to Zedd. You're right. We must stop Rahl. If we gain one of the boxes, justice will have Rahl. And then Zedd says, quote, you have gotten it all right, my boy. All of it. Okay, so to me, this is really cut and dry. Zedd did in fact tell them to go after the Boxes of Orden. He did in fact act like they very much so had a role to play, a very active one. And then he also said, you need to go up against Dark and Rahl, figure out how to kill him or do something to him without the sword. You've got it correct.
Yep.
That was it. So, like, at no point did he renege on that I found.
No.
Before he got knocked out by the underworld beast, okay?
So, it's a complete lie. It's not true.
So,
and either Terry totally forgot what he wrote.
Either Terry forgot or he didn't forget it. He was just like, this'll be better. But then also, later on while they're traveling...
Yeah.
Zedd says to him, as a seeker, you may cause the death of innocent people. In order to succeed in stopping Rahl, you may have to turn away from those who might be saved with your help. Okay, they have clearly internalized that message. Yep. This is a struggle for survival. Dark and Rahl will kill anyone to win. You may have to do the same. Like it or not, the aggressor makes the rules. You must play by them or you'll surely die by them. To me, again, that's like saying, like, you're going to have to murder people while you do this.
Yep.
Richard says, I intend to make Dark and Rahl afraid. And he says, you're going to be a good seeker, my boy. Yeah, so now...
I'm going to make Dark and Rahl afraid. Why were you anywhere near him?
What? You were looking for him? You guys were doing things? You killed somebody? What? Yeah, that's exactly what you set them up to do. Yeah, so now let's, as a group... theorize, do we think this is bad writing or do we think Zedd's character is actually just somebody who would come to you, tell you to do all of these things and like beg you to do horrible things and then turn on you and say, I never said that, and like literally gaslight you? It's kind of bad either way because I'm like, you're really making me hate Zedd if that's the conclusion.
I agree.
And maybe it would be cool to hate Zedd in a way.
But I know we're not going to hate Zedd, so...
He's going to become a Rizzler again.
Easy.
I get, and you could be a Rizzler and kind of have shitty qualities. Lots of characters are like that.
Sure, but he's being...
And is Terry okay with me thinking Zedd's a big old gaslighter?
No, I don't think so.
I know, that's what I want to know.
We'll see. I don't.
If he's okay with that, then I'm okay with it.
But he hasn't shown any restraint thus far to be able to let things hang for a little bit to make things unsure in that way.
I know
he's like literally incapable, like almost like to a neurotic degree.
Yeah,
I've never seen an author so afraid of making things mysterious in this arena of like personality, yeah, like morality, letting people just float some gray comments and you make up your own mind and then they prove themselves one way or the other later. He doesn't do that.
He like will do it very, very mildly and weirdly, but by the end we've always like come to a conclusion. Like I'm trying to think of like say like the elder with the mud people. I feel the one that died.
Is it Tofalor? I don't know.
Maybe it was him. Toblerone. I don't know.
I feel like he lived.
I don't fucking know. Whatever. The elder that thought that the Nightstone spirits were his ancestors.
Yeah.
Right?
Sad, yeah.
Like, I feel there was like a brief glimmer of a moral grayness to that character, but by the end, we had decided, oops, too bad. Scale went to bad. Done.
Yep.
And like, I feel like I'm always supposed to leave these things going like, oh, okay, that was the end result. Like, as if there's a scale and everybody's like slightly morally gray for like a moment. And then for some reason, we're all like, as characters, gathering around to deem the official
we're
notice.
Here to weigh up and down. Do you fail? Do you succeed on the scale?
And that's the truth, is kind of what I feel.
Yeah, it just feels like there are authors that could handle the subject of truth magic really like interesting,
yeah,
and really grayly and subtly, and like if Ursula ever tried to do something like
drop further.
Ursula K. Le Guin, author of The Wizard of Earthsea, phenomenal author. That series is perfect, and honestly, that book does deal with truth among a million other themes, and it is subtle. So
there is a way to be subtle. And then, like, if you're going to be, like, hard-lined in some way about it, I'm, like, honestly, it's going to end up being, like, sci-fi or, like, mathematical at that point.
Yes, and that could be kind of cool, actually.
That's not a bad idea.
That would be kind of cool. Did the math of truth.
It would be like...
The equation of truth. I'm coming out with the new series, guys.
The Fibonacci sequence is the magic.
Wow.
That's truth.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
He's 218. He's higher than me on the sequence.
Okay, well...
Come on, you're not going to engage with that? Give me real 7 energy right now.
I don't really know... What does that even mean?
On the sequence.
What's the number?
It's a Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, what's the number of the Fibonacci sequence?
It goes up forever. But
what does it start at?
1. Then 1, then 2, then 4, then I think 8.
Oh, right, that's how it works.
It's the golden spiral.
I know what it looks like. I don't know the math of it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
You just said it. You knew the numbers.
That's as far as I know. Next, when we do, episode 29.75, we'll discuss the Fibonacci sequence.
We're just getting more and more, like,
further
abstract
away.
And, like, not related to the series at all. Yep. This is very related.
Yeah, where we're going is not, but this is, yeah.
This felt really needed.
Listen, we got to get this off our chest. We got to clear the air.
I don't know how interesting it is, but I feel good getting it out.
As long as you feel good.
Yeah, so then I was questioning is Rawl following the tooth? Is he following Richard? Does he know Richard is the person who has the tooth? I'm still not clear. This, I kind of phoned it in a little on my research. I skimmed a lot. Okay. It was hard. This was hard to, find exactly. But I went back to Demon and Darkenrahl talking, and Demon tells him that they've named a seeker. Darkenrahl doesn't seem to have any idea that it's Richard. He doesn't ever mention him by name. He's never oh, that's the guy. And he assumes that whoever it is, Kaylin must have confessed to them to force them to become Seeker. And I don't know. I was sort of questioning okay, but so the cloud's tied to the tooth.
Yep. The tooth
he also seems to be tracking Kaylin's movements at this point. I do think it's weird that he wouldn't have ever noticed the cloud being with Kaylin.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of confusing.
I'm confused. I do kind of think... I think we might be right about him thinking there's 3 different people.
And there's 3 boxes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Life, death, and control.
Which is which of the Richards?
I don't know. I've been trying to think of that since I came up with the idea that 3 is also 3. like during this. And I have nothing for you.
Yeah, so I was like, then we were dwelling on like the tracker cloud, which, we think it's gone. In the next episode, it will be gone because Richard is getting rid of the tooth. Mm-hmm. But we're like, I guess he has been just walking around with rain clouds.
They haven't discussed the rain since.
This one I didn't really come to a conclusion on. It's not that interesting. Okay, this is my last thing, which is more just like an anecdote, like a little tidbit anecdote that was DM'd to me on Instagram from our follower, Damia. Shout out to you.
Hey, Damia.
Damia messaged me when she was watching the episode. I don't know what episode it was. Whichever episode in which they're at the pub, originally Bill's pub with the redhead who's trying to rape Kaylin and all that.
Bill the pony and all that. Yeah.
That episode. And we were discussing the scene where Richard and Kaylin are talking to the little stable boy that has a crush on Kaylin, and they need their horses taken care of, and Richard is like weirdly trying to convince Kaylin to ask the stable boy to care for them because he's like, he's got a big crush on you. He'll do a really good job if you ask him. And we were saying that we thought it was stupid that Kaylin was like so confused by that information.
Yeah.
Do we have any different feelings on that now? I guess it's like, I get that she doesn't have any experience with boys. I guess she doesn't okay, it's kind of interesting. She doesn't have any experience with men/boys liking her in a like cutesy, innocent crush sort of way because people are so scared of confessors.
Correct.
And the only time anybody's ever doing
is out of obligation and fear. So now she's like, why would he do that for me? He doesn't know who I am. And Richard's like, what do you mean?
But it's like, do we think, like, I guess a lot of this really like relies on the idea that Kaylin is, because she personally hasn't experienced it, she's like so out of the loop on like how human romantic interactions work. Yeah. I feel like she'd kind of have picked it up by now.
It's dumb. She would know. Right?
She's a smart lady. Know. I think she'd figure it out.
So we got this young boy crushing on her. You just figure that out. And Kaylin has been hanging out with the absolute worst of the worst of society.
Yes, exactly.
So she knows about lust, passion,
right, like,
all these sorts of things.
I think she'd be able to extrapolate, I'm somewhere where they don't know me. I'm a regular old lady. The same way she can extrapolate, Richard likes me because he doesn't know anything about me. Therefore, I don't want to tell him I'm Mother Confessor. It will shift his ability to like me and have a crush on me. Why would that not extend to other random men?
And if you wanted to write this in the way of like Kaylin getting thrown off because he's like, just go ask for it, and her being like, I can do that as the Mother Confessor. He shouldn't know that. Why is he saying that?
Right.
And if Richard explains like, he's clearly got a crush on you, her being like, that. Yeah, all right, sure. Yes. That would have been perfectly fine.
I think maybe that's kind of what we were discussing because...
But I don't... I think she turned into a bimbo for that part.
She kind of did. Jamie was saying that she agrees that if it would have been better if Kaylin had figured that out herself.
Yeah.
Not Richard telling her, which agreed.
Nope.
But that Terry was probably foreshadowing Kaylin's powers. So I was like, maybe kind of what you just said, but also maybe in the sense that we're like, Kaylin is also so put off by the suggestion.
Okay.
Potentially because she's like, I'm here in this, I kind of want to live life not sort of like exerting influence.
Gotcha.
Over people.
And there's a little bit of a like, see, even normal people do this.
That's kind of interesting, right? So then what I really thought was kind of interesting was right as I got this message, we were doing the Horner's Mill episode.
Yep.
And in that chapter, when they're going to Horner's Mill, Richard says to Kaylin, we don't have money because I can't use my Westland money. How are we even going to get horses? And Kaylin says, like, of course they're just going to give me the horses. I'm the Mother Confessor, which is kind of interesting because that's kind of her exerting. I thought that was an interesting parallel, this like horse, Kaylin being the one to like get the horses.
In both scenarios.
And in the second scenario, she's not doing it via confessing. She's actually kind of doing it similar to this scenario, which actually just reinforces that she should, like, know that, right?
Yeah.
Because in the second, she's not saying they're going to give me the horse because I'm going to confess them into giving me horses. She's saying they're going to give me the horse because I'm the mother confessor. But I suppose in that example, it's out of fear, where in Bill's stable, it's out of love.
Or, something. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought there's like a lot of things going on there. Where I do feel like they're kind of parallels, right?
Hold on.
Okay.
Female journey now.
Okay.
Pre-crossing the boundary, Kaylin's innocent.
I don't know about that, but...
She's not literally innocent, but she is treating that as innocence for the first time.
Yeah,
Richard is telling her, you're a hot girl. People want to give you things.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? Because she's never experienced that, technically.
Right, because everyone wants to give...
Crosses the boundary of adulthood into the Midlands.
Okay.
And now, so that means the Westlands is when you're a baby.
Both for Richard and Kaylin.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now that she's in the Westlands, she's like, have you forgotten? People give me everything I want. She's kind of like in her, like, hoe phase. Not a real, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's like this, like, image of women.
Right. I know, but it's so weird, though, because Westland's Kaylin was Midland's Kaylin already.
Of course.
So she's like, it's not like, oh, Richard is just only Westland's Richard into
Westland's boy.
The experience of the Midlands and becoming a man. Kaylin, like, was a woman, then got to be, like, pretend baby, and then she had to go back to being a woman. So that's, like, different.
Of course it is. I'm just trying to draw a parallel there between their journeys.
I don't know. I don't know why I found... When I was, like, thinking about that, it suddenly, like, brought to mind her little, like, attitude about getting the horses. Or I was like, oh, that's so different than how she reacted over in this example.
Horse, tree.
Tooth, necklace.
Necklace.
So, yeah, I'm just going to end on that because I thought that was kind of interesting. I wanted to give you guys some... I don't know, just like a fun thought, a fun little thing. How'd you feel about doing this?
I liked it. Yeah, I think when this builds up enough, we should...
Yeah, we're probably not going to do it every time, but I think at some point with enough, like...
We'll have the tank just constantly grabbing questions, thoughts, concerns from comments and our own discussion. And, we'll...
tell us if any of this was, like, new info, new insights.
It was fun.
Interesting.
If you disagree,
was it...
Do you agree?
Was it fun?
Did you watch half it and you're like, I don't need this. I can wait every 2 weeks.
I'll see the metrics.
Yeah, you will. So
you don't even need to tell me. You're telling on yourself.
Honestly.
I don't know. It's out here now, and the people can watch it.
I'm kicking around the idea of
what?
Of doing a little bit of skit music video type thing. So
he keeps saying this.
I'm writing lyrics for.
He is writing lyrics. That
Richard / Dark and Raw, maybe like song rap battle. So we'll see if that ever happens.
He does text them to me.
Yeah, some of them are pretty fucking fire. All right, I hate to say it.
They are funny. I don't know how they're gonna like flow.
I don't know either, and we're not like musical people in terms of making like backdrop songs for anything.
It's almost like you could just do it like beat poetry.
I will have to, yeah. And we need sets or something.
Sets.
I have a vision. I want to bring that to the masses.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm doing the research. Frank's doing that.
Wizards First Rap? I'm just saying.
Go for it. I'm definitely not stopping you.
I gotta work on this, guys.
Yeah, let us know what you guys thought. I hope you enjoyed some extra content on the off week.
Yeah.
And we will definitely see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.